In the playoffs this year, you've done fantastic this year, guys. Keep the good work up and hopefully see you all at West Ham in a few weeks' time. Come on, Shayman.
Hey there, it's Luke from We Are The Shaymen. Just a quick message to say it's a fantastic achievement from Pete Wild and the players to get to where we are now. Just 3 games from the Football League. Been a brilliant season, some of the best football we've seen in years down the Shay. And there's just one more step to go, I'm sure we can do it. Good luck to the lads, and come on the Shaymen.
Come on, Shaymen! Come on, Shaymen!
Hi, I'd just like to say good luck to all the management, all the players for next Tuesday's game. Up the town, Shaymen.
Hi, this is just a quick goodwill message for Halifax Town. Just do your very best on Tuesday, boys. If you do that, it's more than good enough. Then we'll just go to Solihull, beat them, and then I've already got me accommodation and transport booked for West Ham anyway. So I'll see you there. Good luck, boys. Well done.
Hi Sherman, just a quick message to Pete, Millie and all the boys. Good luck on next Tuesday against Chesterfield. Come on Sherman, been a top season, love it.
Right, playoffs. Good luck to the Sherman, you've done us proud all season. Let's do it one more time. Fantastic, come on!
All the best, Pete Wild and Chris Millington and his team for the best league position finish in over 20 years that Halifax Town has experienced. I know we've got it in the locker to win these playoffs, but yeah, it's poised on a knife edge, but I know we can do it. If we apply ourselves properly and we put in 100%, there's not going to be many teams that will be able to stop us in these playoffs.
I just want to say well done to Pete and the lads for a fantastic season. Hopefully it finishes even better and we get to West Ham and beat whoever we face in the final. Come on, Shayman.
Just a message for Pete Wild and the Halifax Town players. I just want to wish you luck on the playoffs. You've got this, you can do this. But whatever the outcome, be proud of yourselves. The fans certainly are. Go on, Shayman!
The future it holds no fear, cause next year we're gonna win Division 3. We'll be shone around, come on FC Halifax Town. Shayman!
Welcome back to another edition of the Talking Shaymen podcast, or as we like to call it nowadays, the road to West Ham. The Shaymen are 3 games away from reaching the Football League. I know Tom, who's joined by me tonight, can't believe it that we're this close to reaching the Football League. But tomorrow we are 1 night away from the Chesterfield game, the first game in our playoff campaign. And on tonight's edition of the Talking Shaymen podcast, we will be previewing that game. So tonight, I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Scargill from the Courier to preview tomorrow's game and to talk a bit about this season as a whole and his career within journalism. Tom, how are you doing?
Very good, mate. Very excited. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very excited, but I'm also full of nerves. I do have to say, heading into tomorrow's game. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah. It's difficult to know what to predict, but I think the closer it's got to it over the last week, I've got a bit more nervous. And yeah, just sometimes I think we'll do it. Sometimes I think maybe not. It's just the closer it gets, the more exciting it's going to be, I think.
Yeah, it is, and it's start of the season, we wouldn't have believed it that we'd be in this position right now. Like ever since supporting Halifax Town, I've always tried to be as positive as possible when you look at Halifax. My dream is always to see Halifax Town in the Football League, something that I've never witnessed as a fan. I'm sure you probably have as well. And it'd be great for you, wouldn't it, if we could get back to the Football League?
Oh, absolutely. It'd be great for the town to have a Football League club again. We'd love to cover a Football League club. It'd be great for this set of players and this set of staff because they've put in a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of planning and preparation over this year and before this year to get to this stage. And like you say, at the start of the season, if you're offered every fan a place in the playoffs, I think they're biting your hand off. So it's a marvellous achievement, and whatever happens in the playoffs, that shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah. Now, in the next hour, we are going to preview the Chesterfield game. We've also got Matty Glennon, an interview I did the other day with Matty Glennon on his experiences with the playoffs and his experiences with Halifax Town, wishing the team good luck for tomorrow's game. But before we do that, Tom, I want to ask you a bit about the journalism side, because we see your reports, we see what you do on social media, but we never really see like how you firstly got involved with Halifax Town, and how was that?
Well, I did a sports journalism degree at Huddersfield University and managed to get a place on the media team for the season that Jamie Vardy was there, which was an amazing experience, amazing team. I kind of hung around a bit for a while, did some work experience at different papers, and got lucky timing-wise that my predecessor at the Courier was leaving around the time as I was doing some work experience at the Courier, and he kind of put my name forward for it and got the job. And I had all the qualifications and I'd worked hard to get in that position, but you need a bit of luck as well, I think, in life. And the two kind of fused together, and right place at the right time. And I've stayed there ever since.
As a kid, was it your dream job to get into journalism, doing match reports? I know we were talking a bit about this off air, weren't we?
I mean, I was never any good at all as a footballer, so I always preferred to write about it than play it. Pretty much 2 left feet as a player. And yeah, when I was a kid, I used to kind of think up match reports and just to write down teams, and I always seemed to, football and writing all seemed to go hand in hand for me. And the idea of it being a career was always so exciting. I've probably never been any good at anything else or wanted to do anything else. So I'm just very lucky that I do manage to do it for a career.
Now, you did actually firstly, get involved with Halifax Town with the Courier in 2013. What was that like when you firstly started writing for the Courier?
Quite scary, actually, because it was like, oh my God, this is actually happening then. I'm actually doing this for a career and people are actually going to be reading what I write. I was quite nervous. If I got any criticism, I would kind of take it very personally and things like that, and used to kind of pore over every word I wrote and think about everything I wrote. I still do that, but it's kind of, you get used to it more now, and criticism's part of the job, and not everyone's going to like everything you write and things like that. But yeah, I think at the start it was just pure excitement, and seeing your name on the back page and getting your bylines and things like that, your first back page, it's just fantastic to kind of, shows that you've made it, really, I suppose.
How often, did you check them when you're doing your reports? You write your report, but it's quite hard. I know we've got spell check and everything like that in this day and age now, but when you're doing that, I'm sure you still do get a little nervous when you're writing your reports. I know you do it on a daily basis, but when you're writing with your reports and thinking, I can't make a mistake here. It's a paper that goes out nationally. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I used to. I mean, I read all my reports back maybe a day or two later, and when I first started, I'd be so crestfallen when I spelt a word wrong or something like that. I'd instantly go back and change it. But now I'm a bit like, well, there's no kind of sub looking at the copy on a match report. I'd put it straight online at full time, so there's bound to be 1 or 2 words wrong. I don't have time to check every word because I need to go and interview Pete. But obviously there's kind of professional standards, ethical standards in journalism, and it's very important that you adhere to those, and we pride ourselves on being a trusted source of news. But yeah, it's something that is inevitable, I suppose, but avoidable at all costs if possible, really.
Since writing for the Courier, what has been your most enjoyable season writing for Town?
I'd probably say this one. I think it's obviously the Wembley final was incredible as a season. That was a roller coaster. I remember the Gateshead game in the quarter-final of the trophy when we won on penalties. That was an amazing game, and then the semi-finals, and then the final was amazing. But there were a lot of pretty depressing games in that season because they got relegated. So I think for uplifting enjoyment and exhilaration, you'd have to say this season, because the football's been brilliant.
Yeah.
The staff and the players are a really nice bunch of people, and some of the results and some of the performances have been absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, they certainly have, and I have to say, since I've been supporting Town, this has been probably the most enjoyable season, despite that Wembley win. So we talk a bit about Wembley now. I noticed that you were like in the press box at Wembley. What was that like an experience for you? You know, being on the press box at Wembley.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, I'm sure there's journalists who go throughout their career without getting to do that. So, Dave Fletcher, who was my predecessor but won at the Courier, I think he was there for over a decade, and he never got the chance to go to Wembley, and I'd been in the job, 3 or 4 years, and I got the chance to do it. So very, very lucky, treasured memory. I mean, the buffet before the game was incredible enough, never mind the match itself. But for them to actually win was just the icing on the cake because they got relegated. So it was a really nice way to finish what was a really awful season. But the whole experience of actually working at Wembley, even if I only do it once, it's once more than a lot of journalists will get. So I feel incredibly fortunate to have had that.
How did you firstly, like, when we talk about this, how did you firstly become, like, go watching Halifax Town? Why was it Halifax going for the media?
It was probably just proximity to where I was doing my degree, really. They had this link up with Huddersfield University, and I was very fortunate to get on that because there were only 3 students in my year who got chosen for that, and I fortunately got chosen for that, and I got to do the writing side for the whole season of the Vardy season, which was invaluable in terms of experience and learning my craft. And kind of, it's a club that kind of gets into your blood, really. And during that season, it was just amazing watching Vardy and them just trouncing over every other team in the league and having more away fans there than home fans when they played away. It was just absolutely intoxicating. And since then, it's kind of been a part of me, really.
How's it changed writing on Halifax Town since you first started going to places like Ossett Town away to now going to, Stockport away, Chesterfield away with these lovely press boxes? How has it changed?
I think that is a big difference in that they kind of felt like a bit out of place, I suppose, with the greatest respect to those lower leagues. I think a lot of the other teams in there will probably agree that Halifax were out of place because of the standard of players they could attract in comparison and the fans they could attract in comparison. So certainly towards the end of that season, it felt like a bit of a farewell tour because it was just so inevitable that Halifax were going to go up. Whereas I think now they're at the 5th tier, it's probably more Halifax's rightful place where they've been for a lot of years. And I think League Two would probably be their ultimate rightful place. I think they're probably surrounded more by clubs who are their equal now. Standards have risen, I would say, on and off the pitch at the club. I think it's more professional. It's more geared towards success now. It has a clear idea of what he wants to do on and off the pitch. I think that David Bosworth has kind of put a lot of work in behind the scenes to get to the club to where it is off the pitch. And Pete Wilde, over the last 3 years, has absolutely transformed it on the pitch as well.
What has been the most enjoyable game to report on for you?
It would have to be Wembley. I missed the Notts County game this season when they won 3-2.
So many people did. I've been speaking to so many fans, and there's so many fans who go every single week who missed it.
I couldn't believe it. I was glued to my phone on Twitter when I was on holiday thinking, surely not, surely not, surely not. And they did. But yeah, it'd have to be Wembley. I think the club was really low after being relegated, and there was a sense of, what about the final? But the fact that it was at Wembley the first time in the club's history, I think it was kind of perfect timing, I suppose, to kind of, okay, we can put the relegation behind us. We've got this game to focus on. And the goal by Scott McManus, seeing 10,000 Halifax fans there, seeing them lift the trophy, just a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yeah, just what an experience. And it's something that I'm sure the older fans would have never expected, being a Halifax fan for so long. Talking a bit about this season then, what has been when has been the best time for you to be treated the best when you're going to away games?
It tends to be Well, I was going to say it tends to be the bigger clubs, but that's a bit unfair. Clubs like Maidenhead are really nice to the media. Yeovil, I don't want to leave anyone out really. The bigger clubs have obviously got kind of dedicated press rooms, and you get food and things like that. But yeah, I think generally all the clubs at this level are really down to earth, really friendly, got a lot of humility about them. And if they can help you in any way, then they will do. And I think it goes for Halifax as well. I think a lot of people would say coming to Halifax is a really nice experience on the media side.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that you enjoyed? And like 1 week going to Notts County, where the exceptional press box, the facilities are League One Championship standard, aren't they? And then the next week going, no disrespect to them, but going to somewhere like Altrincham, which is a totally different type of feel, isn't it?
Yeah, I think in divisions like the Championship and League One and the Premier League, you won't get that, would you? Because they're all going to be really nice. Not that clubs like Altrincham aren't nice; they're just different. But I think it's a more personal, informal setting, isn't it? I suppose you get to know the people behind the scenes at the different clubs, and they're always pleased to see you. And how are you doing? And good luck for the rest of the season. I think that's a really nice part of things at this level.
Yeah, and it certainly is improving as well when you look at some of the clubs coming down. Like if we don't get promoted next season, York, I'm sure that'll be a new stadium for you. Oldham, I think you probably have been there because we had a pre-season friendly against them
That's
a couple of seasons ago. Scunthorpe are going to be coming down, and this is if we don't get promoted. Which, if we don't get promoted, hopefully we don't have to worry about going to places like York City. But if we don't get promoted, it is looking like it's going to be a cracking National League next season when you look at some of the clubs coming down. Now, the previous season, lockdown, a lot of fans had to, put up with the streams, the dodgy internet, etc. But for you, you were fortunate reporting on Halifax Town, weren't you, being able to go to these empty stadiums? What was that like?
I loved it. It was really different. The one disadvantage was when you've got your head down and you're typing, usually the crowd roar, and you're like, oh, what's happening? I need to look up. But with no crowd there, I missed quite a few goals. But I really liked it. It was different. Obviously, it wasn't good for the fans because they're natural places in the stadiums. But it felt like you were kind of a bit of a VIP, and that you were, getting to see things behind the scenes that not a lot of other people had access to. And I felt a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, that I was the eyes and ears for the supporters more than ever, really, and felt even more privileged to be doing the job than ever during that time. But having said that, it wasn't the same without the supporters. The supporters do add an extra layer to the atmosphere and to the games that can't be replicated.
Yeah, and hopefully this season we can get promoted back to the Football League. So yesterday I caught up with Matty Glennon about his experiences with Halifax Town in the playoffs. So before we do show that interview, I'll quickly just read out a few of your comments that you've been putting on Facebook and YouTube. So Simon Welsh Norton says, we certainly can do this, the Shaman together till we die. Yeah, we need to stay positive. Jim Sloan comes on and says, on our way, come on boys. And I think that's more or less it. We've had a few extra comments, but we'll read them out after the interview. So after this interview, we'll be previewing the game in a bit more detail on Chesterfield, looking at them, looking at some of the reports that have gone on the Courier's website too. So I'll bear with you for 10 minutes or so, Tom.
Okay.
Tuesday evening, as we host Chesterfield FC at the Shea for our first game in the playoffs. It may be an extra game if we can get through that game. So I brought on Matty Glennon tonight, someone who's well aware of the playoffs environment, with him doing that in his career for many clubs, including Huddersfield and Halifax Town. Matty, what's it like for you then when you're playing for a team in the playoffs, the environment?
It's very much like cup football. You know that you've got to do it. You've got to be at your best, and you can't let it, pass you by. Because if you let it pass you by, next thing you know, it's over. The season's done. Very, very disappointing. So you've just got to make sure you are fully on it. Obviously, it's tough because you've probably played 46 games already, plus a couple of cup games. So you could be on 50 plus games, and then you get to the playoffs. You've just got to give it that final push.
Yeah, and you're well aware of that, especially when you've played for Huddersfield and you've played for Halifax. Now, you obviously were in that game when Halifax played Brackley and defeated them. What was that like for you with the crowd, etc.?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. We'd had a really, really tough build up to the game. I think we played 11 games in 22 days, 23 days. We were playing Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Oxford away on a Thursday. Obviously, the lads had jobs the next day as well, not full time like they are now. So it was really tough getting through Guiseley first, and then Brackley. Yeah. I think Brackley thought they were going to beat us. It looked like they were a bit overconfident, but we had obviously very, very good players in that team, and Gregors showed up with his goal, made a couple of saves in the game, and it was just absolutely brilliant. You know what I mean? Tough, long season, but we thoroughly deserved it because we worked hard, and you know what I mean, we had a great group of lads.
As a player, how do you deal with that pressure then going into the playoffs? Like, I don't know if you know how the playoff format works now within the National League, but we were in the top 3 for the majority of the season, and we've dropped down to 4th now, which is a little deflating when you think of Solihull getting that 3rd spot. How do you deal with that pressure then when you think you're playing against a Chesterfield side that are only just managed to sustain a place in the playoffs, sitting 7th? Their fans are not confident at all, expecting us to win. How do you deal with that pressure? Because you've seen with Huddersfield as well, you know, they played Luton. They were favourites for the Luton game over 2 legs. They managed to get through, but how do you deal with that pressure?
Well, you've got to treat it as one-off games. You've just got to make sure you try and get through it. Don't think, oh, we've got next week, we've got the next game.
Yeah.
Try and win the game. And Halifax will be favourites, but Chesterfield are a decent side as well. They've just had a bit of a transition into the new manager and everything, a bit of a downturn. They've had injuries as well that I know of in the squad. So it doesn't matter though, but it doesn't matter who you're playing. Just go out. As long as Halifax play their full potential, they'll win the game. And as in dealing with the pressure, you've got to. You're a professional footballer. That's what you got to do. This is what you live for. You've got to enjoy moments. You've got to make sure you grab hold of the situation and the game and say, you know what, no one's getting past me today as a goalkeeper. I'm going to score the winning goal as a striker. I'm going to out-battle my midfield opponent. And you just, the manager and the coaches and the people in the club have got to make sure the players are just on it from the very start. The nerves will be frayed right up until that whistle blows. I got nervous myself, you know what I mean? At the times you were absolutely felt sick to the stomach because you were that nervous about games. But as soon as that referee blows the whistle, game time.
Yeah. Am I right in saying you were in that Cambridge game? Apologies if I'm wrong.
How dare you, Luke? How long have we known each other now?
No, a couple of years.
I most definitely was, yes. And it was to be fair, we'd had a couple of injuries before it, a couple of suspensions. We did really well in the home game. Could have nicked something away. I thought Neil Aspin, you know, he put his strongest side out. I remember it being absolutely roasting, and it was a real shame because obviously Cambridge just come down. They were full-time professional. We were the plucky underdogs that everyone thought were going to do all right but not do great. And we had a brilliant season. We just couldn't get over the line. I actually remember being 10 yards offside in that game. I went front for a couple of corners and free kicks. Obviously not got a clue what I'm doing, even though I have scored in my career. I remember looking at the line and thinking, what am I doing here? I was just on my own, stood near their goalkeeper. But we just couldn't get over the line. But again,
that was that Tuesday night game, the first leg when we defeated Cambridge 1-0 at home and Gregory scored. That was a similar sort of environment to the game coming up on Tuesday against Chesterfield. The only difference is it's one leg now. What does it feel like then, a playoff game on a Tuesday night? You see your promotion status is on the line. How important is it when you think of them Tuesday night games that fans get behind the players?
Yeah, huge. You want a big crowd there. You want to know everyone's behind you. You want to know the whole town is behind you and supporting you and making plenty of noise because you need that lift. You need that lift of a home crowd and just as much noise and as much passion as people can show. And hopefully the players, it's who crumbles on the night, who can handle it on the night, who's going to be the best at their job on Tuesday. That's what it's going to come down to.
Being a former player, what would it mean for you if Halifax got back to the Football League?
Well, fantastic. Obviously, working with the BBC as well. Hopefully, I'll get to cover a couple of games because we're back in the Football League and we're playing against like Bradford and that. So it'll just be huge. And for David Bosworth and all the people that I still know at Halifax Town, it'd be great. I played a lot of games for Halifax. Thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and it'd be absolutely brilliant to see them back in the Football League where they deserve to be.
Yeah, and I'm sure when you look at our history at the old club, there were a lot of times when we were in the Football League, and you just said that we deserve to be back there. Now, you've played other experiences too, including that Bradford City game and the FA Cup. I believe over 8,000 people were spectating that game. What's it like for you when you see a packed-out Shea?
It was brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. I don't think we did ourselves justice that day with the game you're actually talking about, the Bradford. I thought we were a lot stronger than we showed on that day. But again, the Bradford team weren't bad. They ended up in the I think finals and everything else that season. But the bigger the crowd, the better. You know, in a big crowd, they just need to be there, making noise and just driving. They're so close to getting back to the Football League. I mean, these opportunities don't come very often, so you've got to make sure you're there, say as a player to experience it, but as a fan to experience it as well.
Yeah, does it give you that extra motivation when you come out on the pitch and you look at the stand and you think, wow, you don't usually see that stand packed out and the atmosphere, etc. Does it give you that extra motivation?
Yeah, it gets your heart buzzing, gets you going, gets the adrenaline going. Yeah, just gives you that extra 5% that you need to get over the line.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk a bit about pitch invasions, etc. Now, I'm sure in your time as a player and as a pundit, you've seen many pitch invasions, especially most recently with Huddersfield versus Luton. There was a pitch invasion there. You know, I witnessed it the other week going to Stockport away, another side that you formerly played for too. I witnessed the pitch invasion there too. What's your opinion on them then? Now, we've seen in the past, it's a good time to celebrate with the players, you know, what they've achieved this season, you know, get that opportunity to thank them and enjoy yourselves. But there's always a negative side to that too, isn't there? We've seen, like the Huddersfield-Luton game, apparently there were coins thrown into the Luton end at full time. I witnessed Stockport fans, instead of celebrating, came and started throwing pyros into our stand. What's your opinion on these pitch invasions?
I love pitch invasions. I had Carlisle when we got into the playoff final, and lots of other clubs as well. Love them, but for some reason, since we've come back from the pandemic, there seems to be a set of idiots who think they can do what they want. Celebrate with your own team, celebrate with your players, celebrate with your own fans. Don't go goading the away team. They're upset. They've been beaten. You've won. I don't understand why the need to go over and taunt the other fans, taunt the players, especially attack the players as well. Patrick Vieira is kicked out, and rightly so. He doesn't know what that man's going to do. He doesn't know if he's going to come back and strike him. It's quite a scary place to be as a player. I love pitch invasions. I don't want them to stop. I just want the idiots. And it seems to be an element of young lads now, I don't know, from the age of 14 to 21, from what I've seen, who just seem to think they can do whatever they want. They've forgotten how to behave at a football match. You are there to celebrate your team, celebrate with your team. If you have won, then enjoy that time with the players, because you don't get to see the players very often. You don't get to touch and take pictures and celebrate these big times, because they don't happen very often. So for me, you know, I mean, they've got cameras all over the place. Find out who they are, ban them from games, get rid of them, and let real fans and real people enjoy success. I say, because very often.
What was there any trouble then as a player with pitch invasions for you? Like the Brackley game, I believe there was a pitch invasion after that. There were no problems whatsoever.
We had thousands and thousands on the pitch when we won a semi-final against Aldershot many years ago. I've had other pitch invasions as well at other clubs, and there was never anything. No opposition players getting attacked or slapped or going after. No one was going up to the away fans, because the away fans just went away. The losing fans, should I say, just, you know, I mean, crept out the stadium with the tails between the legs, and it was fine. We never saw that. It just seems in the last year or so, people think they can do whatever they want, which they can't.
I think the worst possibility would be that there's more security in place, and they try not to allow fans on the pitch at full time. Like, I don't believe legally it's actually allowed for fans to go on the pitch at full time. However, I do agree with fans being able to go on the pitch at full time, as long as put to a safe standard. You're going on the pitch and enjoying yourselves, and not good in the opposition away fans or opposition players. I just don't think it's needed.
Enjoy your own successes.
Yeah, like I remember the Chorley game a couple of seasons ago when we got promoted back to the National League. There were no issues whatsoever then when we got promoted that season. We enjoyed ourselves. Got a few photos with the players, and that was the end of it. But like you've said, it seems to be since the pandemic that there's been an increase in idiots just going on the pitch and causing problems, and players' welfare is at risk, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I mean, they're just normal blokes who you're playing football, and you're having hundreds of people accosting him. Like what happened to Billy Sharp was an absolute disgrace to Sheffield United the other day. I'm glad that Nottingham Forest fan is now sitting in a prison cell where he belongs to be and won't be watching Nottingham Forest for the rest of his life. Absolutely stupid, and he deserves everything he gets. And I wouldn't want to see it ended and banned and things like that. I say just gotta just behave yourself and enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Now, before I do let you go, what is your score prediction for Tuesday night against Chesterfield? I know you don't follow the team as much anymore, but you do look every so often. What would your score prediction be?
I actually look quite a bit, and I speak to people still, and I also know a couple of people at the Chesterfield camp as well. My score prediction will be a nice steady 2-0 win for Halifax on Tuesday.
Like the game early on in the season. Yeah. I'm not too confident, I must say. Matty, I appreciate you coming on. For any fans watching, if you'd like to see a full interview with Matty Glennon on the Sherman Legends series, there will be a link in the description. Cheers, Matty. I appreciate you coming on.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Cheers to Matty Glenn, who did join us the other night to give his thoughts going into the Chesterfield game. Are you a little more nervous after watching that now, Tom, listening to his score prediction? Or are you a little more positive?
Little more positive. I like Matty. He knows what he's talking about. I spoke to him last week for a piece in the paper. I think he's right when it comes to the playoffs. I think, this is it now. It's now or never. This is what the whole season, travelling up and down the country, all the training, all the preparation. This is what it all boils down to, and it all comes down to who wants it more on the day, who deals with the occasion, the emotions better. And I think with Halifax being at home, they've kind of got control of that, of the emotions and the occasion. Hopefully, having more fans in, so that's something to their advantage at least, and obviously with the brilliant home record they've got as well.
Yeah, and we've seen through your report and on the club's YouTube channel that the team, they seem to be focusing in on keeping that positive spirit going around the camp, having that motivation to get through this game. Because you may disagree with this, but when you look as a neutral, you probably look at Halifax and think, they're the favourites. You look at Chesterfield, you think, they're falling apart the minute they were lucky to get in the playoffs. They've got loads of injuries. And you look at Halifax, you look at a strong Halifax side, a few injuries here and there. We look like the favourites. Would you agree with that?
Probably, yeah. I think it's probably based more on Chesterfield, and like you say, they have stumbled into the playoffs. Scoring goals is a problem. Injuries are a problem. Halifax haven't quite been at their best, I would say, in the last month or two, but they've only lost 2 of the last 10. They've still picked up some decent results. So I think you'd rather be in Halifax's shoes, wouldn't you, than Chesterfield? And again, with that home advantage, which could prove pivotal.
Yeah, that's crucial. And I was looking at what Chesterfield was saying on the game and what Paul Cook's report was, and this is to motivate fans to get down to the Shea even more. I know Paul Cook was saying, although Halifax have the home advantage, and we do know that they're very good at home, 2,000 travelling fans should be enough to help motivate the team and get them over the line. Now, do you reckon that's something that, trying to play games with Halifax there, with the fans, etc.?
Well, I think if Halifax fans are reading that, then it needs to be kind of challenge accepted, doesn't it? And if Chesterfield are going to bring 2,000 and make loads of noise, then hopefully we can bring more than 2,000 and make more noise. I think I was speaking to Jordan Slew today, and he was saying we need the fans more than ever tomorrow. I think when there has been that synergy between the fans and performance, probably like it was at Notts County when I missed it, but other occasions as well, then it's just other teams haven't been able to deal with it because they feed off each other, and I think that's what it needs tomorrow night. It's not going to be one-sided for 90 minutes. It's going to be nervy times, edgy times, and that's when, right from the first whistle to the last, the fans need to be making as much noise as they possibly can.
Yeah. The players seem to repeat the saying that we need the fans to come out from the town and help support the lads. Like the majority of the games when the fans, have been loud and proud this season, we managed to get it over the line. For example, the Chesterfield game at home, a very tight game. Both sets of supporters did their bit to try boost the atmosphere. And I think we got that momentum in the second half to go on and win the game, although Chesterfield were putting quite a lot of pressure on us. And as soon as we got that first goal, we looked comfortable until the 90 minutes, didn't we? And hopefully that's something that we can implement going into tomorrow's game. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think, despite what we've said about Chesterfield summoned into the playoffs, they've still got some very good players, still had a very good season. And up until they lost the manager and the top scorer, looked like they were a contender for the title. And they're not a one-man team. Yes, Shimanga is a big loss, but they've got some very good players and a manager who knows how to get promotion. So, it's probably somewhere in the middle of, it's not going to be a walkover for Halifax, but it's not going to be a walkover for Chesterfield. They're two very good sides. They're in the playoffs for a reason. It's going to be nervy. It's going to be tight. It's just, I think both sets of fans will probably go into it thinking, it could be our night, but then other times they might have thought, maybe not.
Yeah, and Chesterfield, I think a lot of people associate Chesterfield with someone who relies on Cabango Tishimanga, as we saw earlier on in the season with the amount of goals he scored. He almost won the Golden Boot, and he's been out for the second half of the season. That shows how crucial he was for their goals. But Chesterfield still have some quality players like the likes of Liam Mandeville, a very silky attacking midfielder. Danny Roseback, and I know a lot of Chesterfield fans are saying he could be the one that gives us that something special to try defeat Halifax. We've seen him when he's been filed, what he can do. Is he someone that you'd want to watch out for if you was when you're a Halifax fan?
Yeah, definitely. He's proven he can score goals at this level. I mean, his scoring rate at Fylde is absolutely astonishing. I know he's kind of not replicated that where he's been since then. He's had a fair time out of the Chesterfield team. He only came back last game of the season, I think, but definitely someone who can get a goal, might relish the big occasion. He's scored an FA Trophy final before. So I think he might be hungry to prove that he's still got it after having a bit of a fallow period. So if he starts, it's definitely one to watch.
Asante is also injured, another striker. I remember when in the early game in the season at home, when we defeated them 2-0, Asante was that player that I thought personally, he's a quality player, and he was the one causing all the problems. He just kept missing the odd chance where Chesterfield could have took the lead, because they could have full well took the lead in that game, Chesterfield. It was a very tight 50-50 sort of game, open game, especially in the second half. He's someone that might work in Halifax's favour when you think of someone like him injured. But then there's Danny Rowe. There's a lot of players within Chesterfield who can cause problems. And I just hope that the players, and I'm sure they're not going to be, I've heard a lot of reports that the players don't think it's going to be a walkover. And I'm sure that's not something that we will see. We want to get the job done. But it is getting it is very, very tense, isn't it? Going into tomorrow's game. Because all the pressure's on us. And, as being a Halifax fan, even my age at 15, you always look at the negative, don't you, being a Halifax fan?
I think they never tend to do it the easy way, do they, with Halifax, whether it's avoiding relegation or getting promoted or getting into the playoffs or, finishing fourth rather than third. That's a bit of a classic Halifax thing where it nailed them for so long that we're going to finish third, but oh no, we'll finish fourth and do it the hard way. But like you say, Mandeville is a good player. They've got Tom Denton as well, who's very good in both boxes on set pieces, like a magnet when he's defending set pieces. And I think not having Asante and Shimanga means that they're probably going to be lacking pace in attack, Chesterfield, which might suit Halifax, but they've still got enough quality there to cause problems, definitely.
How do you think Chesterfield will play the game? Do you think they'll try to keep the ball off us? Like we saw more at the home game at the season at Chesterfield, they tried to keep a lot of the ball and basically out players and out runners, which didn't work in their favour until probably the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. In the home fixture, it was a lot more even. But there's been even more injuries now for Chesterfield. They won't be confident. I have a feeling they're going to try to disrupt Halifax from playing, probably try hoof it up to Tom Denton, which isn't a style of play that I know Paul Cook likes to do, but it might be something you might think that's our only option, defeating, a Halifax side that have some quality players that can, pass around teams. And if you give Halifax time on the ball, that's when probably they're most dangerous, and especially on the counter. So I could probably see, Chesterfield just trying to disrupt the game and trying to just rely on the likes of Tom Denton and Danny Rowe up front. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think the fact that they're not going into it in the best form might be a factor. If they'd gone into it winning the last 6 games in a row or something, they might be confident to come out and play and impose themselves on the game a bit more. But the fact that they've really struggled of late, they might just be thinking, let's keep it tight, keep it quiet, kind of try and subdue Halifax, subdue the big crowd for the first 20 minutes, first half. I think the longer it stays goalless, it's probably better for Chesterfield. Like I say, the fact they've not got Asante and Shimanga, maybe they're lacking a bit of that attacking flair and penetration. So set pieces might be big, especially if Denton is playing. It's such a threat in set pieces, and they've got some big centre backs. I think they've scored a lot of goals from set pieces. There's nothing Chesterfield. So open play, maybe keep it tight, and then see if they can nick a goal from a set piece.
Yeah, the worst possible outcome would be that they potentially turn us around in the first half. If we're wanting to shoot towards the empty stand, it won't be empty, I believe, because Chesterfield will be in there. But if they try to turn us around, that could be the worst outcome possible. We've seen sides like Dover that, and it disrupt us. We only managed to win 2-1 that game, which a win is a win, but they made it a lot more difficult than what it probably should have been. And we've seen in the past when sides do turn us around, it does affect us because we feel like, we have to score in the first hand because that's where we can get the momentum shooting towards the south stand. And if they did try turn us around, this is a big if, that could work in Chesterfield's favour, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think if that is the case, then I think it needs the Halifax fans to raise it a few decibels because, like you say, I think it's not going to win or lose the game, but it does have a bit of a percentage factor that, and might just, not what the players were maybe expecting or had considered before the game. So I think in that respect, I'm sure the Chesterfield fans that'd get them up off the seats and cheering. So, whenever Chesterfield are kind of making some noise, then the town fans need to respond by making twice as much if they can.
Yeah, that's something that we did see early on in the season when we defeated them 2-0. Now, I want to play a bit of a game. What would your attendance guess be for tomorrow's night? Like, I've looked at that Cambridge game a couple of seasons ago now when we played them, quite a similar sort of game when you think of it, and the fans that were there. I know we look at Salford and Chorley. They were both on Saturdays or Sundays. I can't really remember. What would your guess be for the attendance?
Well, Chesterfield have got 2,800 tickets, haven't they? And I don't think they've sold out yet, but maybe they will by the time the game comes round. You'd like to think Halifax would at least equal that if people are bringing friends and cousins and window cleaners with them or whatever. Maybe 5,500, but maybe even more, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. And I know it's unlikely that we will get the same attendance as what we did against Chorley that season due to it being a final and being on a weekend, which was quite convenient. But it would be good to see that South Stand packed out again, wouldn't it?
What do you think? How many do you think will be there?
It's quite hard to say, to be honest. Like, I want to be quite optimistic. Like we've noticed, the town does come when it is a big game like this, especially in the playoffs. I'm thinking 3,500 to 4,000 Halifax fans. So I'll go 3,700 Halifax, and I reckon Chesterfield will probably sell out their allocation. So that'd be probably about over 6,000, which would be a decent attendance, I have to say, for a playoff match. And it is going to be crucial that the fans get behind the team. So injury news then. We saw at Stockport, we had a few players out injured. I believe Martin Woods, I think he was injured for the Stockport game. Kieran Green was injured. Tom Bradbury, he's been injured. He's been in and out of the team recently. Who's going to be back then? Like, I've seen a few of your reports. Is it looking like Kieran Green could be in contention for the squad?
It looks like it, yeah. It looks like him and Woods and Spence and Bird, who all the last three went off injured. Stockport, It looks like they'll all be okay. Bradbury and Summerfield are rated 50-50 according to Pete Wild. And I asked about Jamie Allen today, and there was maybe a bit of an outside chance, but that's kind of fallen away, so he's not going to be available. So I think, that's not a bad situation. I think Green is such an important player, getting him back fit. Whether he's going to be 100% or not sure, but if he can be involved and maybe, play for at least the majority of the game, then he could make such a difference.
Yeah, something that I've noticed over the course of the season, when we've had Green or Summerfield, that position, that box-to-box midfielder, basically starts the attacks, defends it, and drives forward with the ball. When we've had one of them players injured, that Summerfield or Green, we've struggled. For example, the Bournemouth game at home, Summerfield was on the bench, Green was injured, Maidenhead away. Green got injured after 20 minutes, and apparently that was when the tide turned and Maidenhead started to get a bit of momentum after that injury. We've seen a lot of times when them two players have been injured, including like the likes of Stockport and Wrexham away, where, I think Alan McLean summed it up correctly, men against boys, that game was, when he said that. And I think that's that key place. It's like a vice captain, isn't it? Having like a Summerfield or a Green in that position to spur the team on and also, drive forward with the ball. And I think that is that position that we can't afford to lose over the course of the season. Like, we have a lot of cover defensively, we have a fair bit of cover going forward, and even in midfield. But it's that position, that CDM/centre mid position, that we can't afford to lose. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Green and Summerfield kind of offer something that not many of the players in the squad do in the range of passing, in the vision. Like you say, they can start attacks, they can get the ball to the back four and pick a pass. Some of their through balls have been outstanding. I mean, I love Green as a player. He's got everything, perfect mix of style and substance, not afraid to put his foot in, great in the air, great communicator, vocal presence on the pitch to say he's only 24, but also great technique, can pick a pass, can score a goal, runs around like a headless chicken, absolute heartbeat of the team. When he's been at his best this season, I think invariably Halifax have been at the best as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Same with Summerfield as well. He can play in that position, and we saw early on in the season when we played Chesterfield, both of them were in midfield. I believe it was Gilmore, Green, and Summerfield, and it was quite a safe midfield at the start. Gilmore then went off. He did nothing wrong, but you wanted some fresh legs, and you brought Spence on, and it totally changed the game. Spence coming on from the bench, added that extra energy in midfield, and that's something that could be introduced. I know we've had someone in the chat just say Spence is good, which he certainly has been this season, and that'd be something that I'd be interested to do. Like, I know a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about Gilmore because he sort of gets shadowed by the quality in the squad. We haven't been able to see what he can really do because there's so many good players around him. He could be someone that we could potentially start. And I know Wild does seem to like Gilmore as a player. He could be someone that we start with, play it safe with Green and potentially Woods, who will probably be starting. And Summerfield will probably be on the bench. And then bringing on someone like Spence later on in the game to try relive, not so-called relive, but try rematch that game that we played on earlier in the season against Chesterfield. Do you think that's something that could potentially happen?
I think Gilmore would probably start if I was a betting man. I think he really suits the style of play, and if we are going to try and replicate what we've been when we've been at our best this season, then Gilmore probably has to play because he's very good at receiving the ball in tight areas, playing give and go, running it off the lines and kind of getting into finding spaces in between kind of the defence and the midfield and linking play. I think the only thing that's probably lacking from him this season is goals. I interviewed him 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said he's dying to get a goal, absolutely dying to get a goal. And he's had a joke with the other players about, can he get a goal in the playoffs or in the playoff final? So, if he can get one tomorrow night, what a time that'd be to get his first for the club. But I would fancy him to start Gilmore,
Yeah, we had the joke last season. It was a totally different situation, this, but Ruben Noble Lazarus, who didn't play a single game last season, we had the joke of him coming off from the bench in the playoff final and scoring the winner. I think a lot of people had that joke, hoping that would happen. I know it's a little different, as Gilmore has played this season and he has done his fair good job, but he hasn't yet scored. Someone like Senior scoring in the final would be brilliant. Like, this is what I want to ask you. What would your prediction of the back four be then?
I would probably say, I think he'll probably will go back to a 4. I think it's got to be Warren and Senior at fullback, and the fact that Bradbury is 50-50, it's probably going to be Deborah and Niall Marr at centre back, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and I've noticed this when we have played a back 5. I think we did it against Wrexham, I believe, too, when we played a back 5 there. I may be wrong in that. Same with Stockport away. That's when we seem to struggle, and it seems like we're passing out from the back but not making any way forward. And that might be something that we need to be wary of if we are going to go to a back 5. And that's why I personally think that a back 4 would be more suitable, and it allows the midfielders and the attackers to get more on the ball and express themselves.
Yeah, I think they look more comfortable in a back 4 don't they, in a 4-2-3-1. I think you get better. You get more players in attacking areas with a 4-2-3-1. You get better widths, link-up play between the full-backs and the 2 wide players. I think you get more support to the striker. I think the front 4 dovetail really nicely when they play 4-2-3-1, and I think they just look more comfortable there, more natural in that formation. It's what they've played for most of the season. So I would have thought they'd go back to that, especially being at home as well, and try and impose themselves on the game.
Yeah, you mentioned Jeremy Allen. Now, I personally thought he was out for the rest of the season. Same with Summerfield. I think at first that was the initial thought by the club.
Yeah.
Do you think they could be a key part of Halifax's success if we do get through this Chesterfield game, potentially being in contention for that Solihull game, having someone like Jamie Allen? Because that's something that I feel we've missed. I think we've missed someone like Jamie Allen, potentially if it's like a 0-0 and we're needing something going forward. I think he would have been perfect for that Wrexham game, Jamie Allen, or someone like him. Do you think he is someone that we have missed and someone who can come off the bench and cause a threat?
Yeah, I think he offers something that the rest of the squad kind of lacks in his pace, in his penetration, his directness. And when he got injured, it probably was his best spell for the club. Very unlucky, like with Summerfield, he'd been very unlucky with injuries this season as well, just come at exactly the wrong time. It sounds like Summerfield is further down the road to fitness than Jamie Allen is. So if we do progress into the playoffs, it sounds like Summerfield might have a better chance. And like we've talked about, he's such a talented player still. Is Summerfield technically so gifted in terms of his range of passing, his vision, his enthusiasm as well for one of the veterans in the squad. He runs around like he's a 17-year-old who's just making his debut. So if he could be part of things, in the semi-final or the final, he definitely had something.
It was like that last season. I know Summerfield was that key player for the majority of the season until he got his injury, and then some were saying he didn't come back as the same player. I just think it's that the squad progressed. Likes of Green got more game time, so he wasn't going to be the star man like he was at the start of the season. And we saw this season when the likes of Green got injured, it was his opportunity to break into the team, and he did a brilliant job, I have to say. And a lot of fans prior to Green's injury were saying, Summerfield, he's past it, he's in and out of the team, he's lost his legs. Now, he proved them wrong, and I think he could be someone that as we progress, if we do progress through this Chesterfield game, going to Solihull, Summerfield could be an addition that we may need going into the later stages of the playoffs if we do make it that far. So if we do get through this Chesterfield game and we go to Solihull, would you be confident? Like, for me personally, I think if we did get through this Chesterfield game, going to somewhere like Solihull, we've got the momentum you'd expect, a big away army travelling over to Solihull Moors. Do you think that'd give, if we did get through this Chesterfield game, and I know it is a big if, we'd have the momentum to defeat Solihull?
We would have momentum. I think we'd certainly go there with no fear. I think they'd go there not expecting to win, but fancying the chances. When you look at the 2 games against Solihull, it's kind of width of a cigarette paper between them, really. So it'd be very difficult to call. I think you'd probably have to say Halifax are favourites tomorrow night, but then if they win that and go to Solihull, very difficult to call. Solihull are probably favourites because they're at home, and Town have not been as strong away than they have at home. But like you say about the fans, if we could sell out our allocation there, they could make a difference for us. And it'd be very tough to call that a Solihull away.
Yeah, I have to say that too. Now, finally, before we do go on to score predictions, what is your opinion on these pitch invasions that are happening at this moment in time? I know we've seen in the past when Halifax have pitch invaded, and I was talking to Matty Glennon about it. There's never been any issues. I know the clubs usually don't particularly like pitch invasions. We saw at Stockport there were a few issues with Stockport fans. What's your opinion on a full-time pitch invasion tomorrow? Now, I believe that's not going to be happening. Fans shouldn't be doing that, and I agree. I won't be going on the pitch, certainly myself. But what is your opinion on these pitch invasions that seem to be happening at this moment in time? And do you think it is because of these idiots on other clubs that have ruined it for tomorrow night if we did win?
I think it's a worrying trend, and I noticed the club statement today mentioned pitch invasions and flares, and I would agree that flares is a bit of a worrying trend as well that seems to be creeping into it. I went to the York v Chorley playoff game in the National League North, and they won 2-1, and I noticed like when it got to injury time, there were people standing up, waiting to get on the pitch. They couldn't wait to run onto the pitch. And I think it's just spreading throughout football now, and I think you can understand it. For a Stockport winning the league or a Man City winning the league is a bit more understandable, but when it's a team winning a playoff quarter final, yes, it's a great occasion, but it's just getting too much now. And I was listening to what Matty Glennon was saying about player welfare and things like that, and the attack on the Villa keeper, the attack on Billy Sharp. Where's it going to end? Where is this leading to? And the authorities cannot be just sitting on their hands on this. They need to take action, because the worst case scenario is it leads to someone getting seriously hurt. And especially with flares being in the mix as well, it's when you think about what it could lead to, it's very worrying.
Yes, security I think needs to be upped as well. Like we look at away ends. I know Chesterfield, for example, earlier on in the season, it was more or less impossible for Halifax to get on the pitch. And I know it's a little harder when you look at somewhere like Stockport away for the stewards to be literally covering, surrounding the stadium because there's so many fans on the pitch before full time. But you think tomorrow night it's a possibility that we can get steward because of how the share is set out, and there's only 2 stands open for home fans. It'd be okay for enough stewards to, stop fans coming on the pitch.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because unless there's more stewards there than people, then there's always going to be the threat that people are going to run on the pitch if there's not enough stewards to stop them. So maybe the only way to stop this trend is with the threat of points deductions, the threat of playing behind closed doors, and make it a cultural change rather than stopping it by force. I think you're right in that more security could be done to stop people getting flares into the ground in the first place. I think that definitely can be improved. But in terms of pitch invasions, I think it needs to be a cultural change where it's the game is saying this is wrong, this needs to stop, and fans get the message that they can't keep doing this.
Yeah, I think it is a shame as well that these pitch invasions are being banned. Like, I think anyway, even before all this happened, there's no need for us to run on the pitch tomorrow night because we haven't won anything, have we? We've only got to go to Solihull, and even at Solihull, yes, potentially run on the pitch if it's allowed, because we'd be going to West Ham, and that's a celebration in itself. But it is, like I was saying, it is a shame that because of these idiots and thugs, because that's literally what they are, that these pitch invasions are going to become stricter and they won't be happening anymore. Because I remember like the Chorley game, how we celebrated, it was all friendly, fans were celebrating with the players, nothing bad were happening whatsoever. And the away fans just went off, there were no trouble with them whatsoever. It is a shame that these aren't going to be happening anymore, these celebrations, if fans keep doing what they are doing.
You're right. I remember that Chorley game. I went onto the pitch as well, and it was really just a joyous atmosphere, just euphoria. But I think it's starting to become tainted now, isn't it? I think,
Yeah.
like Matty Glennon was saying, some idiots are going on the pitch and the first thought is, right, where are the away fans? Where can I go to them? Where are the away players? Where can I hit them over the head? It's just completely ridiculous, and something that on occasion is joyous and spontaneous and wonderful is just being spoiled by the idiotic minority.
Yeah, I didn't understand this either. Stockport, the end final whistle before the game, Stockport fans were brilliant, very friendly around the town and even during the game. And you get to full time and you're thinking Stockport, they've won the league. That's a celebration. Like, imagine if we'd won the league in them circumstances. My first thought would be to running over to one of the players, like all the fans would be doing. But instead, you got fans coming over to the away end. It wasn't even like we were second and that it was like Stockport versus Wrexham on the final game of the season. We were never going to win the league that day. So I didn't understand why their fans were coming over to try irritate our fans. And it was a danger zone. I saw loads of things on Twitter of fans saying, their children were, unsafe and felt unsafe during that game. There were bottles being thrown into the stands. There were even pyros literally being thrown into the away end. And I know Halifax fans aren't always innocent in this, but on that occasion, it was wrong. And I just don't understand. If Halifax won the league, I would never want to go over to the away end. And I don't understand why any true fan would actually want to go to the away end.
Yeah, I completely agree, mate. I think it's sad, isn't it, that why, if your team has achieved something, why is your first thought, Robin Olsen, the Villa goalkeeper, or Billy Sharp? It's just ridiculous. Why do you even care where they are? What about your team and hugging your fellow supporters and trying to shake the hand of a player or hug a player or something like that? It's just, what is the mentality? Why you need to lord it over the opposition or the opposition supporters? They should have nothing to do with it. It shouldn't be in your mind.
Yeah, we'll try leave the podcast on a positive note. So, when I did do that good luck message at the start, loads of players did respond and say thank you. So, cheers to every fan who did get involved in that. I do much appreciate it. And a few of the players did respond to that, including the likes of Warburton, Summerfield, and Billy Waters, Tower Warren, etc. Yeah, a lot of players did get involved in that, which is great to see. The club promoted it too. So, thank you to everyone that did get involved in that. Hopefully that does motivate the team tomorrow night and get the job done, which I'm hoping will happen. Tom, before I do let you go, what is your score prediction?
I noticed Matty Glennon went 2-0, and that's probably what I would say as well. I think only conceding 11 goals at home in the league is incredible. Won 17 out of 22 at home, incredible. Chesterfield has struggled to score goals recently. Never mind pick up points. Their attack might be a bit blunt without Shimanga and Asante. I think set pieces is where they're going to be dangerous. So if Town can keep it tight at set pieces, don't give any silly free kicks or corners away, then they should have too much for them. If they play anywhere near to their best, they've got the players who can hurt them. I'll maybe go 1-0 to Halifax.
I'm going to agree with you. I put that on Twitter before just to prove that I wasn't copying the score. Yeah, I think a 1-0, similar to that season when Redshaw scored in the last minute. I think it was a penalty a couple of seasons ago. Yeah. So what you're most looking forward to then tomorrow night? For me personally, just the fans, maybe not the Shea absolutely packed out, but just seeing more fans at the Shea, knowing that it's going to be a brilliant atmosphere and the build up to it. That's what I'm most looking forward to. What about you?
Yeah, I was going to say earlier when we were talking about the fans that it's always special when there's all four sides of the Shea are in use. I always really like that. I hope the Skirket's going to be in use. I presume it is.
It is, yeah.
But whenever that's happened, it's always been a really special atmosphere, and you always think this is what the Shea is capable of. So that's going to be good. And just, I'll be interested to know how many turn up on the night, and I hope they can just get behind the lads, because they've all said it makes a difference. They've all said it can drive them on. And hopefully, we'll get the right result and we can worry about Solihull on Sunday.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and we can look forward towards that for the end of the week because I've got a maths test the following morning. So fingers crossed it'll be a bit more positive after that Tuesday night game because I don't want to imagine it waking up the following morning if we do lose. So yeah, hopefully we can defeat Chesterfield, defeat Solihull, and get to Wembley. But whatever happens tomorrow night, we have to be thankful for what these players have delivered this season. A couple of seasons ago, this stage of the season, we'd be planning for next season. The season would have dragged out. No one would have really been too bothered. But yeah, Pete Wild and the players, they've delivered something this season, and we have the joy and the privilege of excitement for tomorrow night. Tom, I really appreciate you coming on tonight and giving the time up to come on the Talking Chairman podcast.
You're welcome, mate. All the best for tomorrow on your maths test.
Yeah, cheers.
Glory shone around upon FC Halifax.